My name is Rabia Marani, and I'm a member of the project team that's been supporting this very innovative talent program. So our session today is really focused on hiring with impact, how to recruit and relocate talent to Canada. So our goal today is to showcase new strategies to tap into an emerging pool of talent for employers, skilled refugees seeking to fulfill in-demand occupations across Canada. As employers, many of you may be experiencing a shortage of talent. Recent data from Statistics Canada estimates that Canada has over 1 million unfulfilled roles across the country, the most on record and actually double pre-pandemic levels. Experts expect such shortages to continue due to an aging workforce, declining labor participation rates, and low population growth rate. There's no doubt that the pandemic only exacerbated these issues. Now, immigration will have to play an important part in helping us address these challenging dynamics. As we look abroad to activate new talent pools, we face other sobering realities. There are more than 27 million people living as refugees around the world, with few options to achieve livelihoods and security. Among them are 2.6 million people who have left Afghanistan, many of whom live in countries where they can't legally work, open a bank account, or access basic services like school for their children. Less than 1% of people living as refugees are able to access humanitarian resettlement to a new country each year. The majority are stuck in camps or insecure urban environments. And yet, many thousands have competitive skills needed by employers around the world. While traditional refugee immigration programs will still be important, there's a growing consensus that new approaches need to be explored to effectively relocate those refugees with strong educational backgrounds, relevant work experience, and appropriate English language skills. In consultation with UNHCR and IRCC, Focus and our partner TalentLift have been developing such a pilot program to identify and match skilled refugees with employers and visa pathways in Canada to help mobilize economic opportunities for these individuals. Over the past 18 months, we have been working tirelessly with cohorts of refugees from Afghanistan currently being hosted in India and Turkey. We have deployed a data collection process to collect demographic data, including education and work experience. We have conducted English language proficiency training and testing to shore up language skills. And for certain sector opportunities, we have launched training and certification programs to enhance employment skills. Finally, we worked with these cohorts to prepare resumes and strengthen interview skills to help them engage with employers in Canada. We're now ready to reach out to employers like you who may be looking to participate in this impactful program. So thank you again so much for being here today. I'll just quickly walk us through the agenda for today. So for our session today, we'll hear from Focus and the work happening on the ground in India and Turkey. We'll hear from our partner TalentLift about the new immigration pilot programs that have launched and how employers can participate. And we'll hear directly from one of our candidates who we successfully matched to an employer in Newfoundland to help her start her new life in Canada. First up, I'd like to welcome Shakil Hirji, Global Coordinator of Focus, to share more about this important work.
Thanks, Rabia. So hello, everyone. I am actually coming to you from Ankara, Turkey, where Focus has been working now actively for the past 2 years. For those of you who are not aware, Turkey hosts almost over 4 million refugees, which is by far the highest number of refugees being hosted in a single country. And Turkey has had refugees from Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, North Sub-Saharan Africa, you name it. And it has been doing what it can and working its best to be able to sort of deal and manage such a large refugee population, pretty much 100% of which lives in sort of urban areas. And so there's very little, if any, refugee centers in Turkey. Rabia has touched on the situation, with sort of refugees globally. And as you've heard from her, the numbers, are upwards of 25, 27 million refugees looking for resettlement opportunities, and traditional resettlement opportunities, such as the ones that that are offered by, through the UNHCR referral program hardly sort of scratch the surface of the refugee resettlement requirements globally. We're in a little bit of a lucky situation in Canada because Canada does also offer complementary pathways that allows for private sponsorship of refugees, and so above and beyond what the government does in terms of refugee resettlement, there are opportunities for us to be able to privately sponsor refugees. But even then, the numbers are limited. You can only do so many that are allocated to you on an annual basis. And so coming at it from a Turkey point of view, the situation, is a little bit unique in the sense that in Turkey, based on how they have signed on to the UN convention, UNHCR convention, they don't recognize anybody that's not from Europe as a refugee. Some small percentage of them do get recognized as conditional refugees, but the majority of them do not get recognized as refugees. So even the private sponsorship of refugees from a country like Turkey is very difficult to do. And so we're quite excited about the opportunities now to work with our partners at TalentLift, but employers across the country in Canada in being able to identify employers who are interested in hiring skilled refugees, right? So that opens up a new avenue for us, and it opens up an opportunity for our refugee population here in Turkey to be able to sort of take the effort and the time that they need to improve their skills, both from an English language point of view, but also undertake some vocational training, which is something that we offer here to the refugee population in order to make them ready for potential opportunities that employers in Canada might be looking for. So what we have done here is, we're working backwards. We're looking at what are the sort of careers in demand, jobs in demand in Canada. We're trying to match ourselves up with employers, along with our partners at TalentLift, looking for what is required and what the thresholds are that they need to meet in order to be able to come through the EMPP. And then we're investing in people in the refugee population to get them ready. A few of them are going to be exact matches as they are, but many more will require some more upskilling, whether in language or in vocational, in both, in order to be able to take sort of advantage of these opportunities that are available to them. So we're very excited about this program. It's great for employers who can now tap into this great pool of talented refugees globally. It's great for organizations like ours who are trying to find durable solutions for refugees that have been struggling in countries like Turkey for 7-8 years now. And I think it's a win-win all along. So we're pretty excited about the program and about the opportunities that are there for us to be able to sort of work in a win-win-win situation. So just a few words from my side on Turkey and exactly how we all fit into all of this that I wanted to share. So I'll stop there and pass it on back to, I think I'm passing it on to Dana. So.
Perfect. Yeah, well, welcome Dana, the co-founder and managing director of TalentLift, who is our very supportive partner in this journey.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Shakil and Rabia. So yeah, I think we can go to the next slide. And yeah, my name is Dana. I'm our co-founder and managing director with TalentLift, a very proud partner with Focus Humanitarian Assistance. So really just briefly on TalentLift, we're a nonprofit talent agency. So we support employers to recruit and relocate talent when they can't find that talent locally, all from within refugee populations. So this, of course, is a solution to both skill shortages and to displacement. And I get the pleasure of introducing Dilruba next, but first I'll just introduce this immigration pilot that she arrived under, called the Economic Mobility Pathways Pilot, or the EMPP. So this pilot aims to see an increasing number of skilled workers relocate to Canada from refugee circumstances. And you'll see who's pictured here, one of the candidates who arrived under this pilot, I believe was the first to arrive in Canada, and he's here being greeted by the Prime Minister. So just briefly on, again, this the question of why, behind why Canada and why we're all involved in this pilot. As Shaquille just outlined, there are just far too few options for people to get to a country like Canada where they can have a secure future. So, of course, the traditional route of humanitarian resettlement, it's critical, but we know that it only works for less than 0.5% of the people who need it. Meanwhile, skilled immigration is the largest entry point to Canada. And we know that there's just enormous demand for talent across sectors across this country. So the idea behind the EMPP is connecting employer demand in Canada and this opportunity space of skilled visas with the talent that exists in refugee populations. So this pilot is really rethinking people who are refugees as part of the global talent pool. And it's really such a simple idea, but for decades it wasn't possible. So there were all these unintended barriers kind of throughout the system, and it didn't matter how talented you were. So just one clear example of that would be for any skilled visa and pathway in Canada, historically, you have needed a valid passport to apply. So if you were someone who's been displaced from your home country, you might have an expired passport and no way to safely or affordably renew that. And so you can see something that has nothing to do with your talent or potential has historically blocked someone from moving forward. So that's the type of barrier that wonderfully this pilot that we work under is able to remove. So we can be very proud, I think, as Canadians, because the EMPP is really the first of its kind globally to make a skilled visa system increasingly accessible to this talent pool. And now we have other countries around the world, including the UK and Australia, Ireland more recently, that are testing pilots of their own. So next slide, please. So yeah, one of the pioneers of moving on this route is Dilruba. So Dilruba became the first candidate who arrived with both the support of Focus Humanitarian Assistance and TalentLift. And we have Shaquille and the team's leadership really to thank for expanding the geography of opportunities under this pilot to include people who are living displaced in India and in Turkey and beyond. So Dilruba is a healthcare professional. She joins us from St. John's in Newfoundland and Labrador. And she arrived to Canada on May 31st of this, not of this year, of last year. And she will tell us the rest of her story. So welcome, Dilruba.
Thank you, Dana. I'm so delighted and happy to seeing everyone virtually today. I'm Dilruba, originally from Afghanistan. I was a medical student there in my second year of nursing when I left Afghanistan with my parents in 2019 with all my career experience and hope. I started a new life from zero with lots of challenges in my personal life and the career goal under refugee circumstances in New Delhi. When I was leaving Afghanistan, I was thinking I could go back to nursing school in India to earn my degree, but everything was opposite. India was a country where they didn't accept foreign students, foreign medical students to study and work in India. And I didn't give up, and I decided to dedicate my time and knowledge for Afghan community to do their primary treatment in order not to forget my clinical experience. At the end of 2021, Focus and TalentLift supported me through my immigration process to come to Canada with a skilled visa under EMPP program. With this program, I got the best job offer. It wasn't just a job offer, but biggest achievement and also a happiness. So my job offer was from Chancellor Park Long-Term Continuing Care in St. John's, where I was qualified for healthcare aid. Now my workplace is my second home because I spend half of my day at work. And on 31st of May, I came to Newfoundland and Labrador with the warm welcome of my employer at the airport. The way my employer supports the employees is remarkable. So the adventure began on 1st of June. New workplace, new people, new language, and new province. How beautiful, breathtaking landscape scenery Newfoundland has. In St. John's, nature and the sunrise gives hope. To sum up, my life in Canada with all these incredible opportunities opened a pathway towards my career goals, my nursing school, then my med school, to become a family doctor for newcomers in the future. My journey to Canada was impossible without focus and TalentLift support. And thank you, Canada, for endless opportunities.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dilruba. It always makes me so happy hearing from you, and I'm glad you're in such a beautiful part of the country too. So thank you for really thoughtful reflections on your experience. Yeah, now I'd love to just take some time to tell everybody how this recruitment solution can work for your team. So the three kind of overall steps to walk you through is the talent search, the visa application stage, and relocation and settlement. So you'll notice if you've done international recruitment before, it's very similar. So to get started exploring this talent pool, our team at TalentLift alongside Focus will meet your team first and understand your company and the roles that are in demand a little bit better. We'll also understand the best visa pathway available, of course, with the help of the pilot we work under, the EMPP. So then we get started with the first step, this talent search. So we use a job description as a guide, and we'll aim to shortlist candidates who have the right skills and the right potential, and your team decides who you want to interview. So interviews are all done remote by video. Usually these are pretty seamless and straightforward. Our team is here to coordinate, to schedule, if that would be helpful. So again, pretty simple to set up. And so if your team meets someone who you want to hire and you offer a job, that's when the second stage, the visa application, begins. At TalentLift, we have a legal team in-house led by our legal director, who's a Canadian immigration lawyer. And our team really aims to make this stage as seamless as we can for the hiring team, as well as the candidate and their family. So just two parts of this process that I'll highlight that are very important, I think, for all teams considering this are the cost and the timeline. So the cost of visas, it varies a little bit by pathway, but we use a cost sharing model where we ask employers to contribute visa-related costs plus transitional housing for a candidate and their family on arrival. And we can talk more with your team about what that will look like depending on the visa pathway and the part of the country you're in. But our commitment is to also offset as many costs as possible. So just for example, we're very lucky to work with an excellent charity called Miles for Migrants that uses donated air miles to support folks living in displacement to reach their new homes. So that's just one example of that cost sharing. And on the timeline, again, this will be a little bit different for every pathway, but a really good ballpark to keep in mind under this pilot, which does have priority processing, is about 6 months from start to finish of the visa application. So depending on your experience with immigration, that may sound very fast or very long. And to be honest, it is quite a good timeline in international recruitment and immigration right now. So if your team does have the flexibility to plan your talent pipeline, say by 1 or 2 quarters forward, this hopefully will be a really good option for you. So the final step to tell you about the relocation and settlement planning piece. Your team can really consider our teams at TalentLift and Focus as project managers of this process. So we'll involve your team in a few ways if we can. So for example, one very valuable support that we ask teams to provide where possible is airport pickup. So this is meeting the candidate and the family at the airport when they arrive. And this is, again, just really exciting to be part of, and we find a lot of teams are happy to be part of that, plus some other areas. And so again, our team is here to provide as much support as we can, and then work with your team to fill in any other areas that would be helpful to a family. So in a nutshell, this is really how it works. And of course, we'd be really happy to connect with any other teams who'd love to learn more about this process and how it can work for them. But I'll just end on why this works so well for a lot of the teams that we've worked with as well. And I think the two main reasons that we always see and hear about from the teams and our candidates, one reason this works so well for hiring teams is the impact. So the impact for individuals who are hired, but also for the teams who are welcoming them. So we've seen that across all levels of a company, really from executive to the hiring team, to the operational teams. People are really proud and so energized that their workplace is doing something so powerful for a new colleague in their family. So it's really not only about finding a skill set, but about supporting a new colleague and their family to leave a refugee situation. So that's pretty special to be a part of for everyone on the team. And then second, why it works is really the caliber of talent. So this is not just an amazing, powerful thing to do. This is also a really smart thing to do, right? Gaining an individual with the right skill set. So, you know, it's people like Dilruba who arrive to join a team who have, you know, in her case, essential healthcare skills and just really incredible energy and commitment and so much potential. So it's actually because of this amazing individual, I'll just brag about her for a second, that Dilruba's employer has actually gone on to recruit 3 other candidates in displacement. So yeah, other colleagues from Eritrea, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and from Syria. And her team is continuing recruitment as well. So her contributions really at work have already made a much wider impact. So I'll stop there and look forward to connecting to folks and hearing any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Shaquille. Thank you, Dilruba. Thank you, Dana. So we'd love to open up the floor for any questions that you might have for any of the folks that have presented so far. Any questions about TalentLift, about Focus, or for Dilruba. I will just kind of start us off to get the ball rolling. Dilruba, you know, we'd love to hear about how your family feels about the fact that you're here in Canada, and really what this means for them.
Well, as I said, that it was the biggest achievement. Still, my parents saying that we are proud of you, that you're continuing your education and your work in Canada. Especially, it hits different when I'm saying I work in North Atlantic Canada.
That's wonderful. And does your family have any plans to come join you in Canada?
Well, they have planned to come to Canada, but maybe this year, maybe next year. So we don't know the exact timing.
Sounds great. Thank you. Any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, throw them in the chat. We'd be more than happy to answer. Since we were actually just talking about the snow, Dilruba, I'll ask you, what's kind of been the most surprising thing about being in Canada?
The surprising thing is weather. I would say weather, because you know the weather in Canada, it changes drastically. Like we don't know what will be the weather in next few minutes. The weather forecast, it says sunny, but it'll be snow. So like I can trust the only thing weather here.
That's great. Thanks, Dilruba. And Dana, if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of ask you a question about the actual, like once a candidate has been identified, how does the employer actually go ahead and engage with that individual to figure out whether or not they're going to be a good fit for the organization?
Great question. So yeah, we really encourage employers to use the approach to interviewing and kind of like technical skills assessment that works best for their team. So I think pre-COVID, it would have been a little bit more maybe like tricky to kind of figure out, maybe doing this for the first time, but I think everyone is really familiar with, remote video interviews and maybe assessing skills by distance. And so, yeah, we found that employers are able to kind of use their, familiar interviewing approach, both to assess kind of like the soft skills as well as the technical skills. So maybe the most creative type of interview that I've seen, for example, would be some employers we've supported in the manufacturing sector have actually taken their interviewees on a bit of a tour of the work floor and kind of, worked through different either machines or tools and asked candidates to explain, how would you use this? If you're asked to do this, what would be your first steps, etc. So again, really encourage teams to kind of use what their existing approach is.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll just open it up again. If there are any questions, please feel free to just ask them or throw them in the chat. In the meantime, I will thank you all for joining us today. For those of you that are representing employers, we do hope that you'll consider participating in our program and making a real difference in the lives of refugees and their families. We're available to answer any questions that you might have, and we'll be sure to follow up with email communication with additional information on the program that you can share with your teams. So if there's no other questions, then we'll thank you so much for your time again, and we're available anytime if you have any questions, and we'll be sure to follow up with you by email. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and we hope to speak to you soon.
Right.